So my name is May. I'm the project coordinator for the Youth for Global Goals team here in ADB. And joining us today we have Susan Vize, and she is the Regional Advisor for Social and Human Sciences of UNESCO. So, Susan, my first question I'd like to ask you is, what is the value of opening the platform for discussion in the development agenda?
I think one of the really positive changes about the Sustainable Development Goals compared to the Millennium Development Goals is that they're for everybody. And even from the beginning, in terms of coining the goals, there's been this opportunity through the World We Want platform and the My World survey online that actually enables people from many different backgrounds to participate in the whole dialogue from the beginning. So it's not just about people from the governments setting the goals and saying this is what we want to do. It's actually been an interactive and participatory process right from the beginning. And I think the second reason why it's really important is that governments set rules and standards, but in fact a lot of the time implementation is done by the people, it's done by the community. So government doesn't have the capacity to do a lot of the implementation. If you don't actually bring the people with you and have a partnership with people, whether it's NGOs, whether it's the private sector, whether it's young people, then you aren't actually going to achieve the change that you want. So you can't just kind of pass a policy in Parliament and expect everybody's lives to change. It really has to come down to people's own personal actions and how they make a contribution and whether or not they engage in the whole thing. So from the point of view of effectively making change, it's absolutely critical that it's a process that's participatory. It not only engages, but it empowers people as actors as part of the process.
That really resonates with me, because I totally agree. You know, like a lot of the times the policies are made, but the implementers or the, you know, how sustainable these policies are, you know, become at the grassroots levels, right? So, you know, from your perspective, you know, what are the different ways we can use to involve these multi-stakeholders? You know, are there any limitations we should be considering?
It's a really, we know that we want to engage people, and everybody's the same, whether you're from a UN agency, you're from an NGO, or any other group that wants to do something about this. But how you engage people is always the sticky issue.
Yes.
Because, you know, we're just looking at youth engagement a lot lately, and we kind of have come up with this classification of youth. There's the youth that are already engaged. There's the youth that know about it, but or they have the means to be engaged, but they're just kind of maybe not so passionate about it and they don't get engaged. And then there's the people who probably haven't even heard about it. We really don't know how many is in each category, but we could probably look at the wider community the same way. So we've got that, and my feeling on the people in the first category is it's maybe something like 10% or less. So that means we've got 90% of the population out there that are in this category of, yeah, they know some of this stuff is happening, maybe they don't, but you know, they don't think it's for them, or they don't think it's the kind of, they're the kind of person sometimes that is being asked to engage, which is not necessarily correct either. So creating platforms for engagement means that there needs to be multiple avenues to engage people based on their comfort zone with the topic, based on their accessibility to these kind of forums, which includes all kinds of things like their ability to provide transport to their language skills, to their ability to understand the kind of strange language that we use when we're talking development dialogue, because it's a different language. So how you create those platforms, I think, therefore needs to consider, you know, all of those different barriers that have to be broken down. And so it's also really important to have different people leading the dialogue. Community organisations, for example, are really good at connecting with some of those people in that kind of less engaged community, because they have other mechanisms with which to engage them. If we do an online campaign, we typically are going to get that 10% at the top, because they're the ones that know about it, they're the ones that are looking for it, and maybe they're the ones that have the internet access. When we come down to the other ones, we have to think about all of those things. And part of the problem that we have then is it costs money. And typically when we have programs to engage people, we don't invest a lot in the engagement. And how do we therefore get more interest in investing in that if we really are truly going to make it an engaging and participatory process?
Yeah, I think, on the note of, the development language that we use, the jargon sometimes, it's also, bringing it to this forum, the Asian Youth Forum. It's sometimes a little bit hard to understand as a young person what these words actually mean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think on the note of, the limitations in terms of like from transportation to language barriers and to all these other accessibility factors, what do you think could be the role of youth in engaging in these discussions?
I think that youth have a number of networks. Most youth these days aren't just in one group. They're in many groups. They're in different kinds of groups. So most of them are in online groups because this is a really popular thing. But there's many different ones. There's not just Facebook these days. It used to be like everybody was on Facebook. Now it's like everybody's on Facebook, and then a lot of people are on all these other different things as well. And this also varies by country. So, in Thailand, Line is really popular, but in Australia, I'd never heard of it.
No.
So, and I know Facebook is popular in the Philippines, but somebody told me of another one that I can't remember the name
Snapchat?
of.
Instagram?
No, it wasn't. It might have been Instagram. I thought there was another new one that had been launched here recently. Someone told me about it a couple of weeks ago. So, that variety of the groups, but most young people are also either in a student group, or it might be a church group, or it might even be something in their local community or an environment group. They go out and they might do projects together. So the fact that they have these different communities and they're connected is one of the advantages, because after people start to settle down into a job and a family, they tend to close these off a bit. So I think youth really have the opportunity to bring all these different communities into the dialogue in a specific way, so that we're actually getting a greater amount of outreach.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing all these insights with me. Actually, Susan, throughout this short few minutes of interviews, shared with us a lot of things from, the need for multi-stakeholder discussions and how, these policies are made from the top but really implemented in the grassroots levels. And youth should really take advantage of the different communities that we're involved in to really help to spread this word or gather this information. So thank you, Susan, for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was very much appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.